Oh yeah, we're talking about that video. Duran Gray is a band that needs no introduction. True pioneers of not just visual kei and metal, but of music and art itself. And while they might be one of the most popular Japanese bands out here in the West, many other songs and videos are often looked upon as being grotesque and horrifying to those less acquainted with the band. And honestly, that's a crime considering just how deep, artistic, and meaningful their songs and videos often end up being. In the comments of my Malice Miser video, many of you asked for Duran Gray, and they just happen to be my favorite band of all time. And I plan on covering a lot of their stuff. But before we start, let me just state that this is my own interpretation and opinion. So today, let's take a look at the band's most infamous video, Obscure. Before we delve headfirst into Obscure, we should take a look at the band themselves, particularly at what they were going through at the time. Duran Gray was a band that saw a lot of initial success right from the get-go, with both their first EP, Misa, and their debut full-length Gauze, even having multiple songs produced by ex-Japan drummer Yoshiki Hayashi. Though in 2000, a tragic yet extremely formative event would take place. During a tour in support of their at the time upcoming album Macabre, vocalist Kyo would be hospitalized for a severe hearing injury, which later resulted in a partial loss of hearing in his left ear. And while not directly stated, this would lead to a deep shift in both his vocal and lyrical approach. Something else that was very pivotal within the band was their growing frustration and desire to disassociate with the visual kei scene. Guitar player Dai even stated,
"They saw us as idols, but we weren't idols. We are a band, we play music and want to be known for it. So we decided to change our style slowly."
A reference to Japan's massive idol scene at the time. To add to this, Karu stated,
"Eventually we felt that dressing like we used to on stage put up a wall between us and the audience, so we stopped wearing the kind of makeup we did before."
Duran Gray's third album, Kiso, or Demonic Burial, would see them take a large shift from their previous works, bringing in elements of industrial, nu metal, and even death metal to the forefront of their sound, with Kyo in particular writing much more direct and cutting lyrics, as well as bringing a heavier focus on his screams and harsh vocals. This approach to the music was expanded on with their fourth record, Vulgar, the album that contains Obscure. And while I won't review it here, Vulgar is one of Duran Gray's best works, and I highly recommend giving it a listen. Obscure is one of the rare cases of a music video actually following the themes and story of its lyrics, rather than just being an unrelated mess of cool imagery. And to our benefit, because it makes it all easier to dissect. A popular theory about this song is that the lyrics and video are about abortion, and not very pro-choice in terms of their interpretation. Hence why the warning I put at the beginning of the video mentions no-no topics. So if this is something you're uncomfortable with, now's your last chance to abandon ship. The anti-abortion theory is one that's been speculated on as early as 2006, according to many comments left on an old lyric website, Songs Explained. A few of the comments go as follows.
"You can tell the song is about abortion even without reading the translated lyrics. Just look at the video. I mean, it has careless sex, conception, then vomiting, morning sickness, then it has the amputee, fetus, then it has the ever-popular scene with woman eating the baby's head, abortion."
Even though we have yet to get into the actual video, this comment is pretty spot on with what's portrayed. Another commenter had this to say.
"This song actually has a very deep meaning. This is only my interpretation, but I think it is the closest one to what each member of Duran Gray wants it to be. The song Obscure is about abortion and how the members feel that unnecessary abortions need to end."
This comment then goes on to give some historical context on Japan and its history with abortion and birth control, but I'm no expert on the subject, so to avoid spreading any misinformation, I won't include that here. The last comment we'll look at goes as follows.
"Kyo has written anti-abortion songs before. It sounds to me like it's about the irresponsibility of people who have unsafe sex, and worst yet, abort the resulting babies, judging by the imagery. I'm led to believe this is specifically about late-term abortions."
As you can see, there's a pattern, and once we delve into the video, the picture will become much clearer. The commenter also brings up Kyo's past of writing anti-abortion songs. In particular, they're referencing a track from the band's album Gauze titled Masochist of Decadence.
Yet I could do nothing, that chord of ours will be, incomplete. My body pierced through with hooked pain. Mother's screaming voice ringing in my ears. Will not cease white-coated adults scooped me up. In eyes overflowing with cold-heartedness, bloody without a right hand, I'm reflected. Just as I was in black vinyl, I'm wrapped, engulfed. While my consciousness is gradually fading, I consider quietly.
While this may be a different song, it does solidify Kyo's negative views on the subject, giving us a clearer vision as to what obscure could possibly mean. The video starts off by showing us a pile of vomit, a group of geishas smearing around a substance on the floor, a chopped up body on a table, and a masked doctor with a pair of hedge clippers. The song hasn't even begun yet, and the imagery is already starting off strong in what it's pointing towards. Once the song begins, we see the band performing while Kyo begins to vomit all over himself, something we can take as a sign of either disgust or a reference to morning sickness, a symptom of pregnancy that causes nausea and vomiting. This is quickly followed up with more shots of the cut-up cadaver and the geishas beginning to have an orgy, setting the tone of promiscuity and hedonism in an obviously negative and decadent light. Once the song really starts to kick off, the imagery gets a bit convoluted with scenes of the shaman and a doctor operating on a body, mixed in with some imagery of a midget, clown, and other things that seem a bit bizarre and out of place. And while I'm sure there might be some meaning to them, I'm not sure what they're supposed to represent. The next important scene that plays out comes during the first verse, where we are introduced to the group of geishas again, now circling around a man in a Hanya mask, with a massive phallus representing his genitalia. Some key imagery here is the Hanya mask, something worn in classical Japanese theater, representing the souls of women who have become demons due to their obsession and jealousy. The geisha then begin to fondle and caress the man, engaging in foreplay. The lyrics here translate to,
"How deep will it sink inside, eating skin that doesn't match? The snake makes a way through the sheets and goes inside the uterus."
a slew of words I don't think needs any explanation. After this, we're treated to more glimpses of the cadaver, showing off her body cut in similar fashion to the way the fetuses are during abortion processes. We're then treated to more bizarre imagery intermixed with the cadaver and doctor, really adding to the tension and disturbing atmosphere of the video. during the chorus, where the band shots become less erratic and gain a sharper, clearer focus, emphasizing the importance of the lyrics being sung here. The lyrics roughly translate to,
"Color of faint, the night begins and the people start to awe. Color of pomegranate, sting with a prick and disappear far away."
An obvious allusion to promiscuous sex and the later procedure of aborting the baby. The reference to the color of pomegranate, prick, and disappearing is the most evident of this. The end of this scene then shows the man in the Hanya mask inserting himself into the geisha, who spews blood and shows a pained face, a possible reference to her being a virgin. Before we get to the song's breakdown, we're treated to its intro again, where the lyrics translate to,
"How many secret hangings of the premature baby tonight, under the red moon."
And it's here where we get to the video's most infamous scene, when the music stops and we're treated to some ambient chords as we watch a geisha walk in an ethereal plane to a cherry blossom tree with baby heads for petals. This tree is a reference to the cherry blossom Kyo sings about in the song, and with the baby heads on it, I personally believe this is supposed to represent the Tree of Life. The geisha herself is another nod to traditional Japanese dance and theater performances, though in recent years, due to some misconceptions, they've been linked to prostitution, due to certain prostitutes wearing kimonos and similar makeup to the geisha look, something I believe the band is using as a way to show the perversion of their society and corruption of traditional Japanese symbolism. The scene concludes when the geisha picks up a baby's head from the tree, caressing and holding it before violently biting into it, devouring the head. It's here where the song reaches its climax in a heavy and intense breakdown, where the words "bloody baby sacrifice" is being screamed before ending with one final chorus. The imagery here becomes extremely jarring, violent, and strange, and a bit too hot for YouTube, so I can't exactly show it to you. But either way, all the important pieces have already been shown for us to come to a conclusion. The video ends with shots of the band performing, and the geishas from the orgy begin to vomit blood, and a haunting ending shot of Kyo's eyes. When you put both the lyrics and the video together, it's hard to see Obscure as anything other than an allegory for abortion. From the violent imagery of promiscuous sex, morning sickness, and surgery resulting in a chopped up cadaver, and with Kyo's history of writing songs pertaining to the subject, it's almost like a smoking gun in this case. Regardless of how you feel about the subject, the song is powerful and the video is amazing. Well, amazing if you like bizarre horror movies. But you never know, this is just my own interpretation and I could be wrong. I'd love to see any of your own theories or suggestions on what the video means, so definitely comment what you think. But with all that being said, subscribe, support me on Patreon, follow me on Twitter. I'll see you in the next video. Also, I made a Discord server, link in the description.
It's me, Madison Ray. Play up you pathetic little babe pitties.